Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome, Tusk Talk with Ty postgame show. Appreciate everyone who made it here or who's watching this, whether it be live or after the fact. Just do me a solid, man. Make sure, as always, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. I appreciate everyone that has. Mac, I see you. Disappointing end. Really, mostly a disappointing game. Outside of, okay, hold on. Let's recalibrate. The game started off looking like Arkansas might actually pull like a double-digit lead. They go up 8-0. A&M doesn't score for the first 5 minutes of this game. The first 5 minutes of this game, A&M, I think they start off 0 for 7. I think 0 for 2 outside, and then everything else, 2 points they couldn't make. Nothing was falling. And it was like Arkansas could have taken full advantage, and they struggled because, they go up 8-0, but they turn the ball over 5 times in the first 4.5 minutes of this game. They could have done so much more. This could have been a 12-0 run. 12-14-0 run, considering how horrible A&M started this game off. And don't get me wrong, you're excited about going up 8-0. Again, when the home team and their crowd is completely out of this game, it's like in the first, 5 or 6 minutes, you got to step on the throat, pedal to the metal, and A&M is good enough on defense that they weren't going to allow that to happen. And listen, it was a lot of mistakes. It was A&M forcing mistakes. I've said most of the year I didn't know what to make of Texas A&M. A lot of close calls for the Aggies this year. I mean, a lot. Struggling against some not-so-great teams at times, but then they just keep finding ways to win these kind of games. A&M, it's weird to me that people are thinking that, number one, this is somehow going to hurt Arkansas. No, it doesn't. All this game could have done was helped you. In fact, you're probably going to get a bump in the net rankings just by playing these guys. I mean, who knows? We'll see how the weekend plays out. We still got, the lineup for today, the games. You got Auburn at Alabama tonight. Wow. A lot of good games. You got Arizona right now hosting Houston. They're up 7. Unranked Arizona up 7 on the number 6 Houston Cougars, 17-10. Got a lot of good games today, man. But Arkansas had a chance here, and I said this in Discord. Just covering the spread is pretty big. Because, again, it shows you, I know people don't like moral victories. Arkansas fans seem to think that Arkansas is moral victory university, and that's probably true. They probably are moral victory university because they got a whole bunch of them in all 3 sports the last few years. Well, you can probably go further back than that, but this is a moral victory, but it's more than that. And I guarantee you Cal's not going to see it that way. It's you know what? We played like shit and still was in this game until the final couple of minutes. Until A&M finally got, a double-digit lead. Arkansas played good enough they could have won this game. Or they at least could have made it even closer, or maybe this was a final 2-possession game at the very least. Going to A&M, going to College Station and winning is not easy. A&M has their own issues. I do think the level of play, and people got to understand what I'm saying when I say this, their level of play is Elite 8. If you told me that's an Elite 8 team, or this team, the way they're playing currently, made it to the Elite 8, let's say we advance, we've got a crystal ball, and we're looking at it, and we see the Aggies playing in an Elite 8 game, it wouldn't shock me. I think they are of that caliber. Then you're splitting hairs when you say, well, I don't know if they're a Final Four team. When you're saying they're Elite 8 caliber, well, some of those games just boil down to luck and, how the officiating goes and maybe individual ISO matchups, things like that, But I think they really are. This is a really good team. They have problems. I'm not sold on their offense. I know they're playing better, and they are. They've played better on offense as of late. But no, listen, I didn't think Arkansas would cover the spread. I really thought when you look at the total turnovers, I mean, my God, 17 turnovers and you lost by 8. It was an 8-point loss. You lost by 8. I would have said you probably lost this game by 15 or more with 17 turnovers to their 10 plus 7. Comparing turnovers. So they did kind of, they beat expectations by a little bit, not by a lot. We saw a different look through most of the first half. I mean, they had an interesting lineup where you had Big Z on the bench and DJ Wagner on the bench. Once again, we saw Billy Richmond play the point. But this team did, A&M did what they do to everybody. They're going to beat you on the offensive glass. They didn't beat you by a lot. In fact, Arkansas was out rebounding A&M, which is kind of crazy to think, most of this game, or at least all of the first half, I'm pretty sure, and then some of the second half, and then A&M was able to kind of recalibrate, and they beat you by 3 rebounds. Again, I'm not mad at that. Arkansas hit about their average. They got about 32 boards, and you held A&M a little bit below that, about below their average. They did a good job on their assist to turnover ratio. They were +4. They are physical, and they force you to get out of rhythm. They force you to get out of your offensive sets and your offensive game plan. They force you. That is exactly what A&M did today. I don't know if Cal had planned that out, where you'd have Big Z on the bench and guys that don't normally get as much playing time in the first half go out and play in the first half. I don't know if that was a part of his game plan or not. I would gamble and say probably not. That was A&M. That was A&M forcing that adjustment. A&M is again, I'll say it, this is probably the best, most physical team in the country. Like, they can get down in the dirt and they can play with anybody, and they're going to win these 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-point games. They're going to do that. They're not going to overly dominate you because their offense is pretty limited. Although they had, 3 guys in double digits. Wade Taylor went off, 18 points. Phelps had 12. My God, Wade Taylor, nearly a double-double in points and assists. He had 18 points, 9 assists with 1 rebound, 3 steals. He had a hell of a game. It was interesting to see Big Z finally turn it on at the end. He knocks down a couple of threes in the last, 3 or so minutes. He also, even with limited play, still had 6 rebounds, 2 offensive boards, 4 blocks. I didn't know this. A&M is the most blocked team in the country. And that probably has a lot to do with how much they like to play in the paint. They're not a great 3-point shooting team, and they showed that today. I mean, they didn't shoot well. Again, thank you guys for joining. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. I realize Razorback baseball is going on, but I appreciate those of you who did make it, so thank you. Billy, not a point guard. No, he's not a point guard. It was interesting to see him there, and I'm going to say this. When Billy is playing the point, when Billy's playing the point, that's a problem. Okay, Wagner's either off his game, he's turning the ball over a lot, something's going on, maybe he's a little nicked up. It's not good. John L. Davis isn't a point guard. It feels like you're really hard down to just your one guy. And listen, there's a lot of teams, honestly, they've got one primary point guard, and they've got a couple of guys that can kind of play the combo, the 1 and the 2. In Arkansas, I think Richmond is kind of a combo at best. He's a combo. He can play the 1, but you don't want him there for very long. And it's usually if he's out there playing point, well, then Wagner must be turning the ball over a lot. And he did. He had 3 turnovers. He had 3 turnovers in this game, which is, unlike him. I think his average since Arkansas's got on their turnaround, I think his average is like 1 to 2 turnovers a game or something. With 7 assists, something crazy. I'm not talking about on the year, just lately since Arkansas's kind of turnaround. It has absolutely been because of DJ Wagner, because of Wagner, because of Big Z, and Nelly Davis playing better ball. He did not do that today. Disappointing, but at the same time, again, it was an 8-point spread, and look what happened, right? And A&M could have won this thing by double digits, but it didn't feel that way. It felt like Arkansas was good enough they could trade blows, again, despite how gross A&M forced them to play. So I don't know. It's a game where you felt, again, early on and throughout most of the first half, even though A&M would go on like a 9-0 run to take the lead back within the, Arkansas was, I don't want to say they were dominating. It was a lot of A&M not getting clean shots. Arkansas's defense did take A&M completely out of rhythm too. Let's not sit here and act like it was all A&M, but they also were just missing some open looks too. And Arkansas was making them for the most part. I think they were in that gap of time in the first 6 minutes. I think they were shooting like 45, 50% from the floor. I got to say, Richmond was a nice spark, again, off the bench, and he got a lot of time today. 6 points, but he turned the ball over too much. And that was just the theme for the day. I mean, you had two guys with four turnovers. And then two other guys with 3 turnovers. Like, that's not the kind of ball that's going to win games in College Station. The effort you needed was like what you saw in the second half against Alabama. And we do this all the time, and I hate to do it. I'm going to do it, though, because I don't really give a damn. The team that beat Kentucky, the team that came back, or the team that went on the road and beat Texas, and the team that came back and made that game against Alabama interesting wasn't really present a whole lot today. But again, it's kind of 50-50. It was Arkansas just not, stupid turnovers and not clean looks. Nelly Davis, I swear to God, the guy only hit the rim like once all day. I mean, on all of his shots, it felt like he either missed a layup or he had a couple of air balls, maybe 3 air balls, or, I mean, he never hit the rim today, outside of his shots that he made. It was just gross. So, like, it was a little bit of A&M, and it was also a little bit of Arkansas while you end up losing the game by 8 points. Again, I appreciate everyone being here. Hit the like button, share the content, all that. Let's see. If putting Adu in for defense, and I would question that, why not keep Big Z in as well for the offense? Well, yeah, I think the best combo on the floor is if you're worried about rim, like better rim protection. I understand why you play Jonas Adu. Again, Adu's going to, there's going to be mismatches from time to time against all of Arkansas's bigs. Brazil gets in foul trouble too quick, but you rarely see him just get completely dominated at the rim. But I think their best protection is when they have Big Z guarding the rim with Brazil. Like, Brazil's a really good assist rim protector. Adu at times this year has been really good, and all 3 of these guys, and yeah, because of their athleticism and their length, all 3 of those guys are capable of altering shots because of their length, and again, their athleticism has a lot to say about that. Little sugarcoating here. I don't know what you're talking about, Camo. Who's sugarcoating what? I mean, if you don't want to give A&M credit, if that's the point that you're trying to make, I don't know that you watch a whole lot of basketball. Like, A&M is just a really good player. We don't have a true point guard, says TC. Again, I don't know what the hell that means. Wagner has played out of his mind. When you look at his assist, like, you understand what a point guard's supposed to do, right? Do you understand how this works? Like, they are the distributor on offense. They can either dribble drive, kick the ball out, or they're calling out sets. They're giving out orders. They're kind of they're the generals of the floor on the offensive end of the floor. It's up to them to be the distributor, to help find the open guy and to give him the best chance possible to make the most uncontested open look that you could possibly get. That's the job of the point guard. He is the general on the offensive end of the floor. DJ Wagner has done a really good job of that. Wagner has been an excellent point guard. So, TC, I don't know where you're getting that they don't have a true point guard, because they do, and his name is DJ Wagner. I know y'all saw the voodoo doll thing in the Super Bowl. Someone's probably voodooing our ass in these weird games. The passing today was so mind-boggling. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And again, you have to give A&M a lot of credit, but some of it was just goofy decision-making by Arkansas. And it was so frustrating. Like, yeah, maybe there is a voodoo doll. I don't know. I don't really know what's going on. Exactly. Control the flow of the offense. That is their job. And DJ Wagner has done a fantastic job of that. He just didn't have a good game today. Wagner didn't have a good game today. You don't, and you're not too pissed off about 3 turnovers. You're not too mad about it. But then it's when you've got BroThrow with 3, John L. Davis with 4, DJ Wagner with 3, Billy Richmond with 4. That's what pisses you off. And if the offense is struggling to find its rhythm, then yeah, you're going to look at what the defense is doing. Are they playing a little stretch zone? Is it all full court press, which A&M did a little bit of today, or they definitely did it today? Is it just for Arkansas? A lot of the year, it's just been struggling against the zone because they struggle. They don't really have a guy that could find a weakness that could maybe get a little backdoor cutter straight to the rim. And they don't have anyone hot enough to knock down outside shots unless it's Big Z. And Big Z was on the bench so much today because he was getting destroyed. Big Z on defense looked not good. He looked not good. I don't know what else to say. Like, Z really did hurt them in the first half. They were just blowing by him. If you're going to set up, try to knock down old school ball like 15, 16-footers, he's going to block that shot or he's going to greatly alter that shot. He can contest you at the rim, but A&M was just blowing right by him today. And he had to sit. I had no problem with him sitting. I thought maybe he sat for a little too long. They needed points. They were struggling to kind of find it. They went on a couple of 2.5 minute stretches without any points. Like, that's the thing. You got to have someone that rips that bubble in two and someone who can get hot outside, and that's been Big Z. It sure as hell wasn't Nelly Davis tonight. Or today. Sorry. First day game, and I'm going to probably say tonight about 15 times. Good at the free throw line. Both teams were pretty good. Arkansas was better. I don't know. Again, officiating, it is what it is. I thought there were a couple times that BroThrow was just completely – they just would not let that guy play around the rim, and A&M this had moments where it felt similar to Tennessee. You guys remember Arkansas could not play. They were not allowed to match the intensity on defense that Tennessee was allowed. And there was some of that in this game, but like early on, it felt like Arkansas was getting the benefit of the doubt on a lot of the whistles. So I'm not – you can't put this on officiating. Again, it's not like Arkansas didn't take shots at the line. They got 19 attempts to A&M's 21. You had 17 to their 14 personal foul calls. I'm not – if you're going to blame officiating, were there missed calls? Yes, but A&M fans can say the exact same thing. So A&M shot 42%, 24 of 57, 6 of 20 outside. 30%, which is about their season average. I think they're about 31.5% on the year. Lately, they've been a little bit better overall shooting. So 30% there. They were 71%, 15 and 21. They're not a good free throw shooting team, and that is going to be a concern for A&M in the tournament. I already don't think congrats, man. Buzz is a good coach. During the regular season or the SEC tournament, he's a quality coach. Watch them when they get to the tournament. I could sit here and tell you, they're playing like a Final Four Elite Eight team. Bro, I'm going to be shocked if A&M makes it to the Sweet 16 because Buzz doesn't know how to win. He is their version of Mike Anderson. Make no mistake about it. But he's got a really good team this year, like a really good team, a team Mike Anderson never was able to put on the floor. This is a really good team. But what's going to hurt them, at home, you're only shooting about 71%. They're gonna struggle, and when they like to play down in the dirt like they do, they're gonna need some fouls, and they're gonna need about 24 attempts at the line, and they're gonna need to knock down 76, 78% of these games because they play so many close games. When you start now, you got a different caliber of matchup in the tournament. Now it's like if you can't hit those, if you're unable to shoot well at the line, a number of guys today. Now, Wade Taylor was 7 of 8. He was fantastic. Phelps was 3 of 4 for them. But Garcia and Washington, they're 3 of 5 or 2 of 4. Payne was 0 for 2. So they're going to have to shoot better at the free throw line, and they're going to need to get to the line more when it comes to the tournament. They might be they're good enough. You got someone like Wade Taylor. Phelps has been pretty good. You've got guys that can attack the board. They're the best. They're the most This is the best offensive rebounding team you're going to play all year. They're going to probably be able to carry that into the tournament, but then it's like their game's going to get stretched a little bit. They're going to find themselves in more foul trouble. I'm shocked they didn't have more guys in foul trouble tonight. Payne was about the only one, and I felt like they're probably like Coleman should have had about 4 before the final 2-minute stretch. Who was the other one? There was someone else that should have been in a lot. Was it Hefner? Maybe I don't think he got a lot of minutes. There was another guy. I looked at his rebound or his fouls, and I thought, God, he's got to have like 3 or 4 by now. And you pull up the list, and it's like he's got 1. So yeah, they got a little bit of home cooking today, but they're gonna need to get to the line more and shoot better at the free throw line. 71% at home. Like, okay, what are you gonna do on a neutral floor when you're playing a team that's also pretty big and pretty athletic and probably can match you as far as overall talent? Because A&M is not. Like, talent-wise, this is not a team you think of when you think of, like, the top 4 most talented SEC teams. They're not. Wade Taylor's great. They got some really good pieces. I'm not saying they don't have any talent. They got some really strong pieces. But they're not a team that's going to out-talent you in the tournament the way that, like, Alabama can, Auburn can, Tennessee can, Florida most definitely can. Florida's just really well coached. You know. But, so they 12 offensive rebounds for A&M. I would have guessed – I'm not shocked at that, really, because you knew that Cal was going to factor that into his game plan. 12 offensive rebounds to your 8, so they did beat you there by 4. 35 boards to your 32. Again, 14 assists to 10 turnovers. It's +4. You like that if you're an A&M fan. Arkansas, what the hell? You know, Big Z waits until the end of the game. Of course, he sat on the bench quite a bit. We saw you saw the B team play the most minutes in the first half that they've played all year. Your leading scorer is Carter Knox, who was automatic. Carter Knox was automatic today. If this guy is finding his game, and maybe we're a little late on this, if Carter Knox is finding his game, Arkansas is going to be really tough. Like, it does feel like, and again, I'm going to say outside of Auburn, it does feel like every game is within reach. I don't know about Auburn. You know, who knows? They got a big one tonight. Who knows? I'm not ready to say that one's within reach yet. I've watched Auburn play a lot this year. Man, they've got so many good pieces on the floor. Broom is him. I mean, they can take things over so quickly. Really well-coached team. This probably is Bruce Pearl. Again, we've said this before about some of his teams. This feels like one of the best teams he's coached, at least as long as he's been at Auburn. And that's saying a lot because he's had some really good teams at Auburn. Yeah, I think going back to this game really quick, Arkansas just didn't have it in the tank, man. It felt like in the last several minutes, like A&M – it almost felt like they could cruise to a 12, 14-point lead. You know, and then, again, Z kind of comes around and makes a couple threes. But, like, where was that earlier in the game? Where were those looks earlier in the game? And A&M did a good job of just more or less shutting him down, knocking him out, not letting him heat up. Arkansas would shoot almost 42%, 20 of 48, 7 of 21. Outside, 33%. That's good. I mean, those are good numbers. 14 of 19, just about 74%. They got 10 points of production from their bench. However, Billy Richmond with 4 turnovers, but he did have 6 boards. Let's see, what was their number? Arkansas ended up with 8, 9, 10, 11 rebounds from their bench, 6 assists, 2 steals, just from their bench alone. Zvonimir was not terrible. Again, I mean, 13 points, 6 boards, and assists, 4 blocks. That's far from terrible. They just did not let him – they just didn't free him up. They didn't allow him to you know, get hot at all in this game. And it's not like he took a lot of shots. He just wasn't getting open. You know, and the separation on the floor was a bit – it shouldn't – those lanes to the rim should be wider when you've got a guy like Big Z on the floor knocking down threes. But, again, we didn't see that happen until the end of this game. He did have 2 offensive rebounds. Adu Thero with 10 points. Thero, of course, would foul out. He had, you know, foul trouble. He was reckless. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. Adu Thero was reckless today. Every one of those fouls were legit. In fact, he might have even gotten away with another one. Adu Thero was reckless. I don't know if that's him just feeling like he had to put this game on his shoulders, and I was watching him, and I love the effort. I love the energy, and I love the effort, but he goes after a loose ball, and he just kind of like flies in out of nowhere. And I think he picked up a foul, but he was just reckless, and it cost them. It cost them. Fouls out. He has 3 turnovers, 10 points. He did have 4 assists, 3 boards. Reckless. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, at times, you talk about double-edged swords. At times, that's what he is. He's a double-edged sword. He could pick up 14, 15 points, but then he's going to have a couple turnovers, which, okay, whatever. But then he's going to be in foul trouble. And this has only been something that's happened lately. I don't know that he's been in foul trouble as often as he has been. I don't remember this being an issue in November, December, early part of SEC play in January. I don't know that I recall it being such an issue. I don't know, again, how much of that's because, Nelly Davis is out, so now he's the guy and he thinks he's got to do everything. I don't know. It's not like Nelly Davis was a someone that would fly after rebounds the way that he does, but I don't know. Something's different about Thero, and I'm not saying he's like he's obviously a great athlete. He hustles. It's just the execution side of things that are a little strange. I love the 4 assists, though. I do like that. I love that. Let's just cut down those turnovers and the foul trouble. Nelly Davis kind of reverting back to his old ways, isn't he? 3 of 13, 1 of 7 outside. He did eventually get called to the bench. He did have 3 boards and assists, 2 steals. But he had 4 turnovers with the 7 assists, and you don't like 13 attempts, 13 shot attempts to get 7 points with those 4 turnovers. Costly turnovers. And it hurt Arkansas, hurt them a lot. DJ Wagner, he rode the bench a lot today. He had 3 turnovers, 2 assists, 2 boards, 4 points. It just was not, on the offensive end of things, was not a good day outside of Carter Knox. Carter Knox, I think you can argue Carter Knox kind of kept Arkansas around. He did. And unfortunately, it felt like every one of his all 3 of his threes, it felt like A&M was able to go down the floor and do the same thing. Like Wade Taylor all of a sudden was like, oh, well, I can do that. I can knock down 3 threes. It felt like all of his threes came after a Knox 3, but maybe not. Maybe just once, but it felt that way. It just felt like A&M was able to respond to whatever Arkansas was doing, and that's why they ended up winning by almost double digits. Jonas Adu, again, I don't know. I mean, he's you don't expect the guy to do much on offense. That's not what he's called to do. He's a defender. His job is obviously to just don't give up anything easy through the lanes. No backdoor cutters, match up well against their bigs, protect the rim, get those rebounds, and he did a little bit of that today. I mean, but not as much as you'd like to see. 3 rebounds, 4 points, 1 block. He did have 3 assists. Brazil, I don't know where he went today. Did he take the dog for a walk? Where did Brazil go? Does anyone know? Took the dog out for a walk while his boys are playing ball. I don't know. Yeah, Nelly Davis. So looking at these minutes, Nelly ended up with 28. Adu Thero played with 31. He was -5, by the way, in the plus-minus. Carter Knox, -7. That's not indicative of what he did today, though. 36 minutes, 17 points. Again, 7 of 9 shooting. Wagner played 28 minutes. And again, Knox with 36. Wagner with 28. Billy Richmond, and I'm pretty sure this is the most minutes this cat has played all year, 24 minutes. 24 minutes. What did A&M do in the specialty stat bracket? 34 points in the paint, 22 points off turnovers. But you limited them to 7 second chance points. That's good. Because that's where they get a lot of their points. That's where, I say a lot. That's where they get a pretty good chunk of their points. Those second chance points. And Arkansas did a good job there. They definitely limited those opportunities for A&M compared to what they're used to getting, right? 12 offensive rebounds for Arkansas would be like, oh, okay, cool, awesome. For A&M, they're like, damn it, we didn't have like 20? They had just 10 fast break points. They were 8 of 19 on layups, so they also struggled in the layup game a little bit, missing 11 at the rim. Arkansas, 22 points in the paint, just 10 bench points, 7 points off turnovers, 10 opponent turnovers, 9. You actually beat them in second chance points with 9. 8 offensive boards, just 4 fast break points. They were 8 of 15 on layups. You guys know I've been very critical of A&M's inability, of Arkansas's inability to finish at the rim. It is once again very similar to last year. It's kryptonite for this Razorback team. They struggle finishing at the rim. And last year it was pretty bad. This year it somehow feels just as bad despite the fact they're playing a better brand of ball. So what do you make of this game? Like, should you be down in the dumps? Hell no. No. A&M is very good. Their only loss at home this year was to Alabama. I'm kind of surprised the spread wasn't a little higher, to be honest. I thought the spread would be 10, 12 points, or 10, all things considered. Arkansas, again, lately playing better brand of ball. No, you shouldn't be upset about this. Like, yeah, you wanted the upset. This doesn't hurt you. All this game could have done was help you. And it's going to help you by default. Just by playing it, you're probably going to get a bump in the net rankings. Had A&M beaten Arkansas 79-61, then yeah, we might be having a different conversation. Like, A&M shouldn't be good enough that they beat you by that amount, again, considering how well Arkansas has been playing lately. Now, moving forward for Arkansas, it's about going into in just a few days, you're going to the Auburn Tigers. You're heading to Auburn, Alabama in Neville Arena. I don't know if they'll be ranked number 1 still or not. I guess we'll find out tonight, right? Auburn, this is like a game. If you could find a way to get the dub here, you're not even going to think twice about this game. Of course, it's no secret. I don't think most of us would pick Arkansas to win this game. Anything could happen. But then it's about coming home and playing Missouri and Texas. Taking care of business. Remember what we said? You remember what I said when Arkansas started off and really bad in SEC play, when they were 0 for 2, 0 for 3 in SEC play. One of the things I said on this very show was, oh boy, you're going to make those final 4 games very important if you don't have a strong ending to the month of January. If you can't find a way to rebound and turn this thing around. And they did. It was just like, they waited a little while, but they did start to get this turnaround. February has been a mostly very positive month for Arkansas, but all of a sudden, like, it puts even more pressure because you couldn't take care of business against Oklahoma. You couldn't wrap that game up against Alabama despite trailing by whatever it was, 20 points. You came back and fought hard and only lost by 4. So now you've got to find a way. Let's just say right now they don't beat Auburn. Let's say they don't do that. Right, that's probably the most realistic scenario. Never say never, but, now you got Missouri and Texas coming home. You have to win those. Like, you got to win them. You're not locked in yet to the tournament. You're not there. You could have locked it in had you beaten Alabama and beaten A&M today. Yeah, you're locked in. There's no chance I would think you could lose. As much credit as you want to give A&M today, you still can't play anything like you did today against any of these teams you got at home. And by the way, Mississippi State may still be ranked by the time you play them at the end of the year. Probably still be a quad 1 game. Missouri's going to be a quad 1 game, right? A&M will likely be quad 2. I think it is right now considered a quad 2. I could be wrong. And then you've got to make sure you don't trip and fumble against South Carolina and Vanderbilt on the road. Those are not 2 teams with really strong net rankings. So, there's a lot of pressure. You're not locked in yet. You're not there. Find a way to get an upset against Auburn. It would be huge. That would carry you. Oh, my God. Then you've got 2 games at home that are within reach. Well, 3 games if you consider Mississippi State at the end of the year. But I mean, the next 2 games after Auburn are – and they're still within reach. Even if you don't beat Auburn, I mean, those 2 games are within reach. Oh, man. Okay. Shout out to the sponsors. Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company. Same-day services, quality parts, affordable outcomes, better than best results. Give them a call today at 501-244-3667. Again, that's Direct Service Overhead, the garage door company. We have, that's the wrong one. Where are you at? Here's Texas and Kentucky tonight over on BroThrow. Make sure you use promo code Tusk, all caps. That's at 7 p.m. That'll be an interesting one. Right now, Texas at -3.5. So maybe go lay down a bet, man. Peer-to-peer sports betting. They are locally owned, but they're national, baby. They're coast to coast, border to border. This is just one. There's several good games tonight. Go check them out over on BroThrow. Shout out to Patreon supporters. A really strong month of January. Ashton Williams says there's no room for error at home. One more home loss and it's NIT. If you beat Auburn, you can afford a home loss, but at this point, a home loss to anyone, ranked or not, it's over. Not necessarily. No, that's not true. I mean, you have to take it a game at a time, right? If let's say you go on the road and you lose to Auburn and you turn around and you lose to Missouri, okay. Missouri's a quad one. Then it just puts more pressure on those final 4 games. Ashton, it puts pressure on those final 4 games even more. Then it's like you can't lose another one. You can lose to Missouri. I think you can. But you have to win out at that point. You have to beat Texas. You got to go on the road and beat South Carolina. You got to go on the road and beat Vandy. And then you got to beat who will presumably be another quad one game. You got to beat Mississippi State. That's what is that on conference wins? That would be 1, 2, 3, 4. That would put you at 8 conference wins. And remember the magic number, and we've said this now for like the last 2-3 weeks. It's 7, and it feels like, considering how strong the SEC is, the reputation of this conference, they very well could send as many as 11 to 12 teams. They very well could send 11 to 12 teams into the tournament. And I think if you can get to 7, you will be one of those teams. They have proven they can play with absolutely anybody. But it's going to be about, and there's going to be several teams in the same position that you are. But listen, other teams in other conferences right now, like you have to look at what the SEC did in non-conference play. They absolutely owned non-conference play. They are the strongest conference, and I don't think it's even that close. So no, I don't think one more home loss and you're out. It might depend on who that's to, right? Let's say Mississippi State just shits the bed the rest of the month and then into March, and they're completely out and they're quad 2. And now if you lose to Missouri and Mississippi State, you're out, which might be the case anyways. You're on thin ice. There's no doubt. I agree with that. You're on thin ice, man. But it depends on who you lose to that changes everything. Unfortunately, again, when you can't take care of business in January, and you start off as poorly as you did in conference play, 0-5, struggle to take care of business against teams you should have beaten, even on the road, looking at LSU, should have taken care of business against Ole Miss at home. Like, all of a sudden, you're in a different spot. But here we are, and there's nothing we can do to change that. You just got to win games. I don't think really anyone expected Arkansas to go on the road today and win. They're going to go up. They're going to go up in the net. They will likely go up in the net rankings just simply for playing A&M. Maybe. I mean, it's not a given, but likely. But now you got to go to Auburn. No one's going to give you a shot there. And again, you're probably going to move up in the net, even after that game, win or lose. For sure win if you win. Then you got Missouri, who will likely be a quad 1. Mississippi State still left. That's likely a quad 1. So you legitimately have 2 more, well, technically 3 more quad 1 games left to go. Likely. We'll see what changes. Mizzou could, well, no, I don't think Mizzou will drop out of quad 1 by the time we play them on the 22nd, but we'll see. Mello, we're all over the place, game to game, never know what will pull out the bag. That's not a good recipe. Well, Yeah, I don't know, man. I think most of the team is playing at a higher level. There's no doubt about that. They're playing at okay, Missouri, when you went on the road and lost 83-65, what would be the outcome of that game if they played today? That same game. Do you think they would lose 83-65? No. Lately, they are playing a better brand of ball. Unfortunately, they've had to play two top 10 teams. They've struggled against these top 10 teams. They've not been particularly great against ranked opponents, but they've also won on the road. They beat Kentucky on the road. They beat Michigan on a neutral floor. They've done more than enough to prove that they belong. I don't know what you're talking about as far as like a recipe. If you're talking about just like if they get in and what they might look like come March or come NCAA tournament, assuming they're in, then yeah, you're probably right. That is the question, right? Like if Arkansas does get in, it really could just be like based on the matchup, right? If you go in and you're one and done and Kentucky advances, oh my God. I may not go live after that. I don't know. You know I will. Oh man, but maybe that's what you guys are talking about. But right now, like, no, they're playing at a level high enough. They are good enough to get in. It's just about what the selection committee wants. So I don't know, but Auburn, I think, is the only game left that I think is probably not within reach. But the way Arkansas plays, they could make that game interesting. But Auburn's better than A&M, and I don't know how close it is, and that's what worries you. Auburn's they kind of do it all. They're just a very, very, very well coached team. Good luck, right? Today turnovers were hideous. I couldn't agree more. I really couldn't agree more. It was really bad. Hogs lost because of 77% of you said turnovers. I think that is accurate. I couldn't agree more. I'm going to put an end to that poll. Listen, I appreciate those of you who made it in today. I know there's a baseball game. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put an end to the show right here. I'll be back next week. The schedule from here on out is going to be interesting. Just, again, make sure you hit the notification bell. Make sure you're subscribed, and that way hopefully you're notified. God only knows. YouTube is not the most friendly when it comes to this channel. They do not like promoting this channel. They don't send out notifications. It's very, very, very much so me versus the system for sure. Me versus YouTube. So that's why Patreon, the content, spring camp's almost here. The content's going to be flowing on Patreon. I'm working on putting together my totem pole. I often talk about difference makers, playmakers, depth chart studs, right? I often talk about that. I'm actually putting together a list. I'm hoping to get that out, and Patreon, hopefully I can get something out for Patreon to see what that list looks like. And that'll be all available in Patreon Discord. But you have difference makers, just to give you guys like a heads up, like a difference maker. Who would you think is who's difference maker? Who's the A? Because I go A, B, C, difference maker at the top. Who's A? All-time Arkansas, you could argue Lance Allworth, Darren McFadden, right? Difference maker B tier. Who would that be? I would think Ryan Mallett, Matt Jones. Difference maker C tier would be like Felix Jones, Alex Collins. And then you have your playmaker part of the totem pole. Tyler Wilson, Treylon Burks, Peyton Hillis, Hunter Henry. And then that has A, B, C, D. So I'm going to put that together, and we all have our own opinion on who belongs where. I get it. We all have our own great Razorback totem poles, but it's not for the argument of who are the greatest Razorbacks. It's like for me, it's almost like, think of Madden or EA College Football 2.5. You've got your 99 overalls and then everything down, right? That's what I'm trying to put together. Who is on this roster? Do they have a difference maker? How many playmakers do they have? How many potential playmakers do I think they have? What about impact starters? That's another tier. And then below that's just depth chart fillers. So there are 4 parts of this totem pole. And at the very top is difference maker, A-tier difference maker. And that's what I want to get into this offseason. I want to start talking about where's the potential at with this team. Unfortunately, with the transfer portal, you have no idea. We would have probably put Anton Jukic last year as like a legit playmaker, right? We would have said he might be a playmaker. But he ended up not being, he's not even an impact starter. He's a depth chart filler, right? So it's so difficult to know what you're getting out of the portal. So that's why we got to say potential, right? Crutchfield. Where would you put Crutchfield on this list? Would you put him as a possible difference maker? Remember how highly sought after he was out of high school? He's considered a freak by 247 Sports. What about Taylon Green? Where would you put him? That's what I'm working on. That's why I haven't gotten a depth chart out yet, because I'm trying to put a different trying to add a little salt and pepper, some seasoning on my depth chart. Like, what does this player look like? And if you're a Patreon supporter, if you're not and you want to be and you want to check out the portal rankings, we have that available for Patreon supporters. So, yeah. All right. Anyways, okay. That's it. People are hopping out. So I'll see you guys next week. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the game. Hopefully Arkansas can take the series today. Looking forward to moving forward. Again, Patreon supporters, I get criticized because I placate a lot to Patreon as far as like content in Discord. By God, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep putting out Patreon content. We haven't lately because all we really have right now is basketball. But spring camp, once it's opened up to the media, we're going to really go in on some of this stuff. So I'm excited for it. So hopefully you guys, March is going to be fun. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to be gone for a little bit there. I'm going to be gone for a week at the end of March, but I'll be back. I'll be back in time for I don't know what their plan is for red-white scrimmage, but I will be back for that for sure. And I shouldn't miss too many practices. That's the good news. So, all right. Again, I appreciate everybody. And those of you that are here and watched, make sure you like, share, subscribe. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate all the Patreon supporters and the sponsors. I'll see you next week.